Today we celebrate the Council for Opportunity in Education's 40th anniversary. In March 1981, the National Council of Educational Opportunity Associations, NCEOA, which later changed its name to the Council for Opportunity in Education, incorporates in Washington, D.C. Days after incorporating, NCEOA holds the first annual policy seminar and TRIO advocates meet with legislators on Capitol Hill. In June of 1981, NCEOA establishes a Washington, D.C. office and appoints Dr. Monty Perez as the first director. In September 1982, the NCEOA's first annual conference draws 490 participants to Washington, D.C. During what would become known as the 12-Day War, NCEOA convinces the Senate Appropriations Committee to reject the subcommittee's proposal to slash TRIO by 33% and moves to increase the appropriation by $10 million. Immediately following the policy seminar in 1985, NCEOA organizes the first annual seminar on relations with the Department of Education. COE originated the now widely used concept first-generation college student in the Education Amendments of 1980. On February 28, 1986, a congressional resolution declares the fourth Saturday in February as National TRIO Day to highlight our nation's low-income first-generation students. TRIO programs continue to honor this day by hosting community service and other awareness events. Later that year, during the 1986 reauthorization of the Higher Education Act, Congress creates a fifth TRIO program, the Ronald E. McNair Post-Baccalaureate Achievement Program, to increase the number of low-income first-generation and minority students pursuing doctoral study. In June 1990, NCEOA hosts the first annual National Student Leadership Congress, bringing Upward Bound and Talent Search students to Washington, D.C. to participate in leadership development activities, a model congress, and community service. Since that time, over 3,000 students have had the opportunity to develop their skills through the annual Congress. In an article about the higher education lobby, the New York Times highlights NCEOA as a particularly effective advocacy organization. In 1995, as part of the Contract with America, the House Budget Committee recommends eliminating TRIO. In response, NCEOA declares that this is a war on opportunity and successfully defeats the budget's proposal. In 1996, NCEOA establishes the Pell Institute for the Study of Opportunity in Higher Education, the first research institute to address the issues impacting educational opportunities for low-income first-generation students. Today, the Pell Institute is the go-to resource for the most current data on post-secondary opportunity and outcomes. NCEOA and the European Access Network, EAN, join forces to advance educational opportunity globally. In 1996, Dr. Mitchum attended EAN's annual conference in Amsterdam as a keynote speaker, and later in 1997 was invited to join the EAN board, which he served on until his retirement in 2013. Since that time, COE and EAN have worked to ensure that low-income students are recognized as a vital resource globally and that international experience are an integral part of their post-secondary education. In 1998, NCEOA officially changes its name to the Council for Opportunity in Education to better emphasize its mission and the students it serves. COE launches the first study abroad program allowing TRIO students to study in South Africa and Mexico. Since that time, over 450 TRIO students have been able to participate in international study and service experiences sponsored by COE. COE organizes the first briefing of the bipartisan Congressional Trio Caucus, which now includes more than 130 members of Congress. In 2005, at COE's annual conference in Washington, D.C., the Trio community celebrates the 40th anniversary of the Higher Education Act, while also beating back the administration's attempt to eliminate Upward-Bound, Talent Search, and Gear Up. Throughout 2006, COE expends tremendous resources and successfully defeats a renewed attempt by the administration to redirect college access support away from low-income first-generation students. In the 2008 reauthorization of the Higher Education Act, COE defeats the unethical evaluation of Upward Bound, establishes a formal appeals process, and wins 5-year grants for all projects. At COE's annual conference in New York City, the Pell Institute hosts a 40th anniversary celebration of the Pell Grant that includes members of the Pell family, Pell Grant recipients, and key leaders in higher education, including Lois Rice, who is known as the mother of the Pell Grant. In 2014, the oldest Trio program turns 50, and Upward Bound celebrates half a century of service. In 2015, Talent Search celebrates 50 years of service as the first Trio program authorized under the Higher Education Act. Meanwhile, in partnership with the Alliance for Higher Education and Democracy at the University of Pennsylvania, the Pell Institute publishes the first annual edition of the Indicators of Higher Education Equity Trend Report. In October 2017, COE hosts its first annual Executive Leadership Institute at Princeton University. This event draws elected leadership from every state, Trio associations for 4 days, leadership development, and group case study work. Since that time, more than 150 Trio state leaders have received executive leadership training. In fall of 2017, through a bipartisan coalition, COE defeats a House floor amendment to remove $60 million from Trio funding by a vote of 153 to 263. In 2017, COE moves to heighten awareness of first-generation students at colleges across the country by partnering with NASPA to launch the inaugural First Generation College Celebration on November 8th, which is the anniversary of the Higher Education Act. In fiscal year 2018, Trio cracks the $1 billion funding threshold for the first time in history. Also, for the first time, Trio alumnus Barry Cosgrove commits to establish a $1 million endowment for COE, a crucial first step to assuring long-term sustainability for the organization. That same year, Student Support Services celebrates 50 years of service. During September 2018 at COE's annual conference in New York City, the council recognizes Academy Award-winning actress Viola Davis, her sisters, and their mother with the first ever Trio Family Achievement Award. Davis and her 3 sisters all participated in the Rhode Island College Upward Bound program while they were in high school. The award is in recognition of the impact of Trio on their entire family. Throughout 2020, COE hosts robust online professional development webinars to respond to a student need during the COVID-19 crisis. Both COE's policy seminar and annual conference take place in virtual formats due to the pandemic. In August 2020, during the Democratic National Convention, the DNC party platform includes a commitment to double Pell Grants and double Trio. Recognizing the increased need for supportive services given the continuing coronavirus crisis, COE builds on the DNC promise and kicks off the Double Pell, Double Trio campaign. In September 2021, COE will celebrate its 40th anniversary at its annual conference in Atlanta, Georgia, with a renewed commitment to engage in good trouble in the request to make the promise of educational opportunity a reality for all Americans. This is COE Communications Intern Marnie O'Malley, a rising senior at Marquette University studying public relations and political science.